Good evening and welcome to Doordarshan Kendra Kohima. I'm Vimasalam with the news. First, the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold talks with Brazilian President to boost economic ties. Transport sector responsible for 40% pollution, says Union Minister Nitin Gadkari. Chief Minister Dr. Neiphiu Rio signs key MOUs and strengthens bilateral ties with Japan. And Tuluni Festival celebrated with community spirit. And now the details. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold talks with Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva in Brasilia today. The Prime Minister arrived in the Brazilian capital last night on a state visit after wrapping up a very productive visit to Rio de Janeiro for the 17th BRICS Summit. On his arrival in Brasilia, Prime Minister Modi was welcomed with a traditional Brazilian samba reggae performance by the Batalha Mundo band at the airport. In a social media post, Prime Minister Modi said the band's music was a global effort to promote Afro-Brazilian percussion. He also received a warm welcome from members of the Indian diaspora who gathered at the airport to greet him. Touched by the gesture, the Prime Minister described it as a memorable welcome and praised the diaspora for staying connected with their roots. Taking new strides in the strong India-Brazil partnership, Prime Minister Modi and President Lula will also hold delegation-level talks. The discussions will cover trade, defense, energy, space, technology, agriculture, health and people-to-people ties. India's ambassador to Brazil, Dinesh Bhatia, said the two countries are expected to sign 4 agreements. After concluding his Brazil visit, the Prime Minister will reach Namibia tomorrow for the final leg of his 5-nation tour.
से निपटने के लिए मिलकर काम करना, गोपनीय सूचनाओं का आदान प्रदान करना और नवीकरणीय ऊर्जा तथा कृषि अनुसंधान में सहयोग शामिल है.
57 years that the Prime Minister of India is paying a state visit to Brazil. During the state visit, he'll be accorded the state protocol, state ceremonial welcome, followed by a bilateral talk where both delegations led by the respective leaders will meet.
Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari today said that the Transport Department bears greater responsibility towards ecology and the environment, as 40% of the pollution in the country can be directly attributed to the transport sector. Addressing a gathering during the plantation drive under Ek Peड़ Maa Ke Naam 2.0 along with the Faridabad-Noida International Airport corridor, Gadkari said Ek Peड़ Maa Ke Naam is a dutiful initiative towards Mother Earth and it is also a cultural and moral responsibility of the citizens. He also advocated for the use of bamboo. India's automobile industry has surpassed Japan to become the 3rd largest in the world. This industry has created employment opportunities for around 4.5 crore youth and also contributes significantly to exports. The Chief Minister of Nagaland, Dr. Neiphiu Rio, affirmed the deep-rooted historical and cultural bonds between India and Japan, describing them as civilizational connections founded on shared democratic values, religious harmony, and a commitment to peace and humanity. Speaking during a series of high-level engagements in Tokyo, Dr. Rio emphasized the unique affinity between the people of Nagaland and Japan, stating, "Our shared history and experiences have laid the foundation for a special bond." Dr. Rio expressed his gratitude to the Embassy of India in Tokyo, commending Ambassador H.E.C.B. George and his team for their proactive role in facilitating meaningful connections between Indian states and Japanese prefectures. He praised the embassy outreach as exemplary and vital for enhancing Indo-Japanese ties. Dr. Neiphiu Rio arrived in Tokyo on 5th July 2025, accompanied by a high-level delegation comprising Abu Mehta, advisor to the Chief Minister and Chairman of the Investment and Development Authority of Nagaland, and Hekani Jakalu, advisor Industries and Commerce. The delegation was warmly received by Ambassador C.B. George and hosted at the Embassy of India for an official dinner and reception. During the visit, several significant meetings and agreements were concluded. Chief of the Naval Staff Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi Chief of the Air Staff Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh and Chief of the Army Staff General Upendra Dwivedi addressed senior military officers in New Delhi today on the conduct of joint operations. During the event, all three chiefs reaffirmed their commitment to tri-service synergy. According to the Indian Army, the address focused on joint operational planning with particular emphasis on integrated maritime and air warfare in future battle scenarios. We will now take a short commercial break. Stay tuned.
वीडियो लाइक करने के पैसे मिलेंगे so easy
अनजान लिंक्स पर क्लिक मत कीजिए। आरबीआई कहता है
जानकार बनिए, सतर्क रहिए। वीडियो लाइक करने के पैसे मिलेंगे so easy
अनजान लिंक्स पर क्लिक मत कीजिए। आरबीआई कहता है
जानकार बनिए, सतर्क रहिए।
Welcome back. The BJP has accused Congress Chief Malik Arjun Kharge on disrespecting President Draupadi Murmu and former President Ramnath Kovind by mispronouncing their names during a public address. Addressing the media in New Delhi, BJP spokesperson Gaurav Bhatia said this reflects the Congress party anti-women and anti-Dalit mindset. He demanded that Kharge issue a written apology for his remarks. Bhatia also asked Congress leader Rahul Gandhi and other party leaders whether they would condemn Kharge's remarks. Moving on. In Bihar, the state government has decided to implement a domicile policy for government jobs which are reserved for women. Currently, the 35% reservation quota has been fixed in government jobs for female candidates. The decision to implement the domicile policy for women was taken today in a cabinet meeting chaired by the Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. Now, only female candidates who are residents of Bihar will be able to get the benefit of 35% reservation. The proposal was brought by the General Administration Department. Women who are outside Bihar will be considered as general candidates. In Bihar, several organizations are demanding the implementation domicile policy in government jobs and vacancies to give more opportunities and preferences to residents. The cabinet has also decided to constitute a 7-member youth commission to look into matters of youth, migration, their skill development and holistic development. The commission will deal with matters of migrant youth workers, youth pursuing higher studies outside Bihar, unemployed and economically weak meritorious youths. The high school Bayava Sefazu Sumi Community Kohima celebrated the 27th Tuluni Dikhetini Kupughe at the Capital Convention Center New Secretariat today. Tuluni, the main festival of the Sumi Naga tribe, is a time of joy, thanksgiving and unity. It marks the season of plenty and is celebrated with feast, traditional rituals and social bonding. Hetovi Kapo, president of HPSSCK, highlighted the importance of the festival, saying it promotes reconciliation, gift exchange and even traditional arrangements of marriage betrothals. The event was chaired by Finance Secretary Ito Aye with Joint Secretary Vitali H. Chopi serving as recorder. The program began with a prayer by Associate Pastor Alti Chopi of SBCK Fellowship. Cultural performances were led by Azanoku Gonili Shohei and Newly Kujumi. A folk song was performed by Apunoku Jetovi Chupi and Hushito Asumi. A traditional Sumi marriage proposal drama Gugupu Kigini was presented by the Lothemi Ku group with Ibeto V. Su playing a key role. Reverend Dr. Kieto Sema, senior pastor of SABCK, delivered the festival address, stressing the importance of preserving culture, spiritual growth and youth involvement. The celebration ended with a blessing from Dr. L. Botoholi Yepto, Associate Pastor of SBCK, followed by a community feast.
For Father's Day, itu stick itu season day, itu but last year lah, dhan kan, nana kan itu kotom rice kan kotom hoy gina thakya season hoy. Tita thakya kan, mano কামব্ৰাছ নহ'লে থাকে খান ৰিচ মানুহ খান পৰা এইটো মদত কৰা
President Donald Trump said the U.S. would impose a 25% tariff on imports from Japan and South Korea beginning August 1 as he unveiled the first two of an unexpected 12 letters to trading partners outlining the new levies they face. Later, Trump also announced the U.S. will impose 25% tariffs on Malaysia and Kazakhstan, 30% on South Africa and 40% on Laos and Myanmar. The rate for South Korea is the same as Trump initially announced on April 2, while the rate for Japan is 1 point higher than first announced. A week later, he capped off all the so-called reciprocal tariffs at 10% until July 9 to allow for negotiations. Only 2 agreements have so far been reached with Britain and Vietnam. There was no immediate response from the Japanese or South Korean embassies on the announcement. About 12 countries will receive letters from Trump, White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said at the briefing without identifying them. She said Trump would sign an executive order on Monday, formally delaying the July 9 deadline to August 1.
Slapped with duties ranging from 25% to 40%. Trump warned of further escalation if there was retaliation against the levies.
The President will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the president and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people.
We will now look at the weather report from the district headquarters of Nagaland.
Kohima today recorded a maximum temperature of 25 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 19 degrees Celsius, while Dimapur had a maximum temperature of 35 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 24 degrees Celsius. Wokha experienced a maximum temperature of 31 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 21 degrees Celsius. Mokokchung had a maximum temperature of 29 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. Mon had a maximum temperature of 32 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 23 degrees Celsius. Towards the east, Twinsang had a maximum temperature of 23 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 16 degrees Celsius. Zinabuto had a maximum temperature of 25 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 18 degrees Celsius. Pek had a maximum temperature of 22 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 16 degrees Celsius. That's all for the weather report.
And before we close, a recap of the main points. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold talks with Brazilian President to boost economic ties. Transport sector responsible for 40% pollution, says Union Minister Nitin Gadkari. Chief Minister Dr. Nipi Rio signs key MOUs and strengthens bilateral ties with Japan. And Tononi Festival celebrated with community spirit. And with that, we wrap up tonight's news edition. Thank you for your company. Have a good night.